Board game content creators, hi, it is that time again where I check in on you, see how you all doing, and also stop in with some really helpful tips, especially for the coming year for 2022. So today, I want to teach you about how you can monetize your board game content, but ultimately, it's going to be one main thing, which is to gain clients, to gain publishers that are going to work with you in 2022. Now, to help you book your very first client or your next set of board game clients, I have 5 very helpful tips for you. But real quick, since there are literally thousands of brand new people that have joined the channel, first off, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the Wolfpack. Here, aside from making board game cinematics and elevating the visuals of the board gaming side, I also stop in once in a while and drop in some really helpful tips and tricks and things that will help other creators. From both the creative side, teaching you how to use equipment and fancy gear and all that good stuff, and also, like a video like this, the business side as well. So with that, let's start off with tip number 1. I want to ask you this. What exactly are you doing when you're monetizing your board gaming content? You are ultimately starting a business. And what do businesses function as? They function as problem solvers, right? When you go to the grocery store, you're buying produce, you're buying products, you're buying food because you and your family are hungry. When you go to an electronics store, you're buying gear, you're buying different things that help you elevate your creative visuals. You're doing that because what you have now isn't able to help you do it efficiently or with quality. When you go to your local gaming store, you are solving your boredom. You're also solving your fuel, your passion in order to play board games and do all that. And you're also supporting them as well. The problem I wanted to solve was the lack of production quality in the board gaming industry. So that B-roll eventually became A-roll, and then now that's being used for commercials, Kickstarter, trailers, ad segments on YouTube, what have you. So when you think about and define your specific problem, next up is going to be the solution to that problem. The solution is your brand and your product that you are trying to monetize. So that is tip number 1, figure out what problem that you're trying to solve, which leads to tip number 2. Now that you know what your solution can potentially be, I want you to think about niching down. Take it from someone who never, ever wanted to niche down in the beginning. It's much easier to niche down initially and then open up later. In case you're afraid like you're locking yourself down into one specific genre of a niche, know that you can always open up later. It's just much easier to start off very specific. If I were to go back, I would easily just niche down to one specific thing. But you might have heard this a ton of times before, but how does it apply to our hobby specifically? Well, we have first board games, right? So when we niche that down even further, we have the age group that we're going for. Teens, adults, kids, couples, right? So we want to think about the audience that we are targeting as well, because that ultimately is what our clients are targeting on top of that. And then the third tier, to narrow down even further, is to think about the types of games: party games, strategy games, roll and writes. So when you put all that together, you have a very specific genre of gaming. And here's why defining your specific niche matters. And before I give you my answer, let me know down in the comments what you think it is. And if you are a publisher, even better, let me know down in the comments below what you are looking for when you are hiring board game content creators. For me, after working with many board game publishers, the trend seems to be pointing towards seeing their game replicated in what you're already doing. Now, aside from a content creator, I am first a photographer. And as a photographer, clients, people are looking to book you because they already can see your style and they want photos that are replicated in that style. They want photos of themselves, of their families, done in the way that you are already stylizing it to be. That's why they're looking at your portfolio, right? Because it shows an example of the type of work that you do. And in turn, your clients can envision the setting and themselves in your photo. That's the same exact thing with creating content within the board gaming space. Imagine this, if all you do is cover heavy Euros and you're trying to pitch to a publisher that only makes party games exclusively, that's kind of hard for me to visualize as a publisher. So why would I want to book you if you only do Euros? How can I see my game when all you do is cover a completely different genre of games? As a board game publisher, would I want to spend hundreds, maybe even thousands on something that I can't really see my return on investment in, or something that I just can't envision my product in? So you really want to build a portfolio that centers around your niche, within a niche, within another niche. Now, if you like the video so far, if you like these tips, go ahead and drop me a like down below, and also subscribe if you aren't already, because there will be plenty more of these coming your way, but you don't want to miss out, so make sure you hit subscribe. Okay, moving on to tip number 3. Speaking of portfolios, one thing you should really have in your portfolio are testimonials. Here's why. It's easier to get leads than it is to finalize and book a client. This is part of refining that process. So testimonials are a huge part of that because it shows support and proof that you have done this before, that you have experience in this, that you've worked with other board game clients. Remember, when we are building this business, we're always thinking about our client. For our client, our board game publishers, a ton of them are making these as passion projects. So it's like their baby that they have nurtured for many, many years. They want to make sure that you can feed, take care, love, and do all those things for their baby. One way to do that, one way to show that you can, is by having testimonials. If you don't have a quote, a testimonial, a review about your services, not a big deal, okay? Because we all have to start somewhere. But it's time to start collecting them. And how you start collecting them is, well, by getting review copies. You can ask different publishers for reviews, but if you already have games, you can always reach out to those publishers. I'm not saying to spam them with emails and contacts and all that stuff, but once you figure out that you want to do tutorials for roll and writes for couples, then I want you to target those specific board games, make videos or content or photos, whatever that you have in mind for that. Then you can reach out to other roll and writes, integrating tip number 1, which is solving a problem, right? Maybe a different roll and write that you're looking at doesn't have a tutorial. Well, there you go. There is one problem that you can solve for that publisher. You start there, you pitch them an idea, maybe in exchange for a testimonial of your work and how happy they are with what you provided for them. And there you go. There you have one. You don't need to have a specific number of them, but I would say maybe 3 to 5 would be really, really good to have to show other publishers. Remember, everything that we do here are always layers. They may seem very little and very inconsequential now, but they will add up to very big results in the end. So testimonials, if you don't have them, get them. Okay, so where are we at now? Let's say you are a streamer. You stream area control board games that are tailored towards adults. And you streamed over 10 times, 10 different games, and you have all those different testimonials up on your site. First off, you're looking extremely stacked, so good job and thank you for all your hard work. Secondly, it's now time to promote yourself. That is tip number 4. How do you promote yourself with intention in the board game content creation space? Tip number 4 is to promote yourself uniquely across many different social media platforms. Now, here are a couple of major ones that I get my leads from. First off, let's talk about Instagram. So Instagram is about 30 to 40% of my lead generation. And what that means is these are people that reach out to me from Instagram. They'll email me saying, hey, I saw pictures that you've done on Instagram, or this thing that you posted on Instagram. Here's how I found you. On Instagram, and if you do this, don't feel bad. I'm not attacking anybody. I do this myself all the time. But in terms of thinking about how you're marketing yourself for Instagram, this is what you want to avoid. You want to avoid posting things that don't have an impact. Your goal to market yourself on Instagram is to always leave a lasting impact. And you do so nowadays in 2022 by making videos. Videos are the future. Instagram literally announced it that IG Reels and video content is where they're moving their platform. So we have to adapt with them. Unfortunately or fortunately, up to you depending on how you like video or not. So when you post things on Instagram, you always want to try to leave a lasting impact. Whether it's your story, you can use Canva to elevate that a little bit more. Or if you are streaming, like I mentioned earlier, you can always take clips from your stream or from your podcast and then make them into these IG Reels that Instagram will promote way more than just a video post. Regardless of the type of content that you make, the goal here is to take many, many different clips, put them all together, and captivate an audience on Instagram. If you can do that, publishers will want you to do that for their game. I'm trying to motivate you, but I also want to be realistic as well. Don't expect to post one Instagram story, which is only available for 24 hours, and expect 10 leads. This is something that you kind of just do over time and you do progressively because you're adding layers to your strategy. So if this is something that you consistently do or that you do quite often, it's gonna work out in the end. This is a marathon, this is not a sprint. Think about it like this, when you consistently make content that stands out, then people are gonna look forward to watching your stories, to looking at your posts. And therefore, with more eyes that are very, very attracted to those posts, they will send those to people that they know, and it just becomes like a wildfire effect. So you are progressively building an audience that have eyes that are stuck to your content and also that are sending it out to other people. At the same time, you also don't want to make every single post that you make business related either. You also want to be relatable to people as well. So find that balance between making a post unique and also making it relatable as well. So that way you gain both types of audiences, which are extremely helpful for you to monetize your content in the end anyway. Okay, so that is Instagram. Here on YouTube, I would say YouTube is probably like responsible for 60% of my lead generation. The most I get nowadays is definitely from YouTube because YouTube is where you can you don't have to hold back. You don't have a limitation. You don't have 60 seconds. You don't have 45, 15 seconds, whatever. You can go full out. But here on YouTube, it's helpful to make playlists that are specifically tailored towards what you want to make. So for me, I make one that just shows cinematic showcases. And secondly, you can also put up a highlight reel like I did for 2021. So this shows everything that you've done in the past year. You definitely want to show your most recent work and also your best work within 1 to 2 minutes. Highlight reels are very, very important because this is something that you can send to publishers, especially when they ask about a summary of your work. Aside from the photo side, they want to see visuals as well. If you want to see the one I did, I will link it right up here. But then next, the last set of places that I get leads from is definitely from website, my website, and Twitter. So those two, I would say maybe 10 to 20% of my overall leads. Twitter, I've mentioned this before, but it's more of a wildfire effect, way more of a wildfire effect than Instagram because you can retweet it. And also, if you just post text, don't expect that to catch fire because know that it gets lost in a whole sea of text. So you want to distinguish your promotions, your business side of things, or just overall you promoting on Twitter by using video clips and also photos as well. For the most part, when I'm doing those epic lifestyle shoots with models, Twitter is like my #1 place that I get leads from. So if you retweet and repost all my stuff on Twitter, know that I appreciate that so much as a fellow creator, as just a friend, as someone who just saw the post. Thank you for promoting that, for helping me promote that as well. But yeah, Twitter is really good for that. People also can add you to the list like board game reviewer, board game content creator. So if you don't have a Twitter, 2022, you should definitely have one. And then your website, of course, this is going to be your entire portfolio. Make sure it is as simple as possible. You want to just include a list of services that you provide. I don't like to include my numbers on there, and I can make an entire video dedicated to why I don't show my price on websites. There's a whole philosophy, psychology to that. If you want to know more about that, let me know down in the comments below and I can make an entire video dedicated to that. And let's wrap up this video with tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to simplify your offer. The reason why this is so important, and this is one major mistake I made as well in the beginning, is that when you simplify your offer, clients are more likely to book you, not only because they know that you specialize in that specific type of service, but also the pay, I almost can guarantee, is way, way higher than for you to offer a whole range of services. At least for me, in my experience, especially going on to this start of 2022, when I simplified my packages, the pay was exponentially higher. That's probably what you're more interested in anyway. And also, it just elevates that experience for them. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it can't come off as elegant, as elevated. Honestly, looking back at my sell sheet or looking back at like what I used to offer, it was so bad. I used to have lifestyle photos and product photos and creative photos and cinematics, commercials, social media promos, tutorials with collaborations. It was just a mess. Like going back and looking at that, it's just, I can't even deal with how complicated and how overly extra my previous packages were. Now it is completely simplified, way more than before. So photos, I offer one type of photo. That is lifestyle photos. That is it. Lifestyle photos either with models or without models. I am also niching down as well. And then switching on over to the cinematic side or like the video side, I only offer cinematics. Aside from cinematics, I also offer gameplay. That's it. So for gameplay, that's something that I'm newly experimenting with and that I want to dip my feet into this year. So that's more of like a passion project for me. So that is how I simplify my packages. Lifestyle photos and cinematics. And then I'm just putting gameplay in there because that's something I want to experiment with. But those two are my primary sources of income. Cinematics, I have like 6 more to do in this 1 month in January 2022. And it's, what is it now? January 17th? 6 left. But that compared to when I had this overcomplicated set of packages to deal with before, I only had maybe 1 a month. But here is just skyrocketed ever since I've simplified my packages, and it's allowed me to not even promote better, but to also close clients, which ultimately is the most important part. As a side note, depending on the game and the publisher and what they're looking for, I also provide an a la carte as well, which is just an ad segment on YouTube, which you might have seen in my top X list. So that actually brings me to my very, very last point. If you are a reviewer and you're looking into monetizing your content, I think this is the most difficult one because obviously in the board gaming world, we don't do sponsored reviews. That's one thing I do want you to be aware of, in that it is more difficult, but that doesn't mean you can't monetize your content, because one way I think you can is by providing ad segments. So like if you make a top 5 list of party games like I did over here, then you can include a party game that's coming out onto Kickstarter or on retail something like that. Or if like you're providing some kind of analysis or overview, maybe you can introduce a different game that people might be interested in as well. So you can make reviews still about similar games and then provide ad segments for viewers that would be interested in that type of game. That's one way, but if you know other ways, again, let me know down in the comments below. So to bring everything back together, all in one summary, number one, ask yourself, what problem are you solving? Number two, ask yourself what types of games you're covering. Number three, do you have testimonials and social proof to show that you can cover and you have experience in doing those things? Number four, how are you going to promote your services across the social media platforms that we talked about? Instagram, website, Twitter, and YouTube, of course. And lastly, number five, how are you simplifying your offer? Keep it simple, just make it very, very specialized, and I almost can guarantee that it will not only make it much easier for your client, but also it will elevate their experience as well. So with that, I hope you all found this video helpful. This is how we are going to start off 2022 by empowering other board game content creators just like you. So with that, hope you all found this video helpful. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's book some clients.